Hey friends, how you guys doing? Today's video, let's mock up the 441 and put a timing wheel on it. I'm curious how these things time. I have no idea. I've never ported a stratified saw. I've built quite a few of them, but I've never ported one. Let's bolt this thing together, put a wheel on it, and let's see where it times. And at the end of the video, I'm going to ask you guys, what should I do with this thing? I have no idea. Let's check it out. Okay, we're here on the bench. The dirty bench. I'm going to have to clean this up before I do final assembly. Here's our bottom end. Nice and smooth. Again, I let it sit overnight and then I checked it out. Still got, I don't know, it's good. I thought we had some dirt there. I was like, what's all that? It's actually corrosion on the case. Don't build stuff like they used to, do they? Okay, so we have our bottom end. Everything's good. Now, I want to mock this up, and any of you guys that have spent any time here know that I usually don't work on these newer saws. This is a stratified saw. This is how new saws are, most of them, as I understand, at least all the ones I've been inside. I haven't been inside a ton of them. Okay, notice. You have your piston here. You have these big cutouts here, and these flow air into the cylinder. It's basically a controlled air leak, more or less, okay? And what that does is it keeps the EPA happy, is basically the long and the short of it. It lowers emissions. Okay, now, if you guys look here, if you look at your intake, this is your intake. These are your Strato ports. Okay. These go up through here. I'll show you with the light. Okay. Sorry, friends. My light's dying here. Okay. Those go up in here. Okay. Through these transfers here. And they end up right here, okay? Those are your transfers. Okay, now here's your other transfers. These are your regular transfers. They're fed here and here. Okay, now notice this one right here. This one goes around and over this one. Okay? So when you first look at these, you might go, what the heck is going on? Well, that's how they did it to get around emissions. Okay, as the world keeps going, people say we need less emissions and we build things more emissions friendly. My problem is, and I'm not going to rant, but I'm going to tell you guys how I feel about this. The emissions compliant engines are not as reliable. Therefore, they tend to break more. They tend to blow up more. They run leaner. They run hotter. I don't care. I mean, diesel trucks, we all know they're not as reliable with emissions equipment. And these saws are not as reliable. They tend to blow up more often. So to me, that's less green because, well, it costs energy every time you want to make one of these. So I'm as green as it gets though, because, well, I take saws and I rebuild them all the time. And to me, that's very green and efficient. Okay, rant over. Now, first things first, I've never worked on one of these. I wanted to do a gasket delete. Well, you can't do that on this saw. It appears to be hitting here and here. So if we want to do a gasket delete, we have to cut that. We're going to have to cut that off. I don't know if that's such a good idea. I'm going to put this gasket in. Okay, slide this into there. Okay. So those are touching, I don't know, the gasket is 18.5 thou. So if you ground that out 20 thou, you'd probably be safe. I may end up doing that. Today's video, we're just we're just fathoming what we're going to do to this thing. I don't know how these time. I don't know anything about these saws. Okay, I'm going to put 2 bolts in here. Run this thing down. I want to check the squish. Okay. Interesting. Just give me a second here, friends. I think I grabbed the wrong bolts. Okay, I got a piece of solder here. Let's check the squish on this. Feels like it's going to be fairly all right. I don't know what I'm going to do with this saw. I think I kind of want to build it in a way that you guys can do at home. Oh yeah, she's tight. I can just tell by spinning this thing around. Yeah, she seems okay. Okay, let's measure it. Make sure you drop it on the floor. You guys notice I drop things a lot. I just do. Never dropped my child when she was a baby. It scared me. Oh, would you look at that? Well, we're going to... Wow. Nice squish band. Friends, okay. The tightest part should be at the edge. 22.5. That's perfect. 23. Okay, I'm just sliding it down. Look. 26. Okay, so it's tapered 3 to 4 thousandths into the combustion chamber. That's perfect. Good job, Highway. Okay, now let's have a look at this again. Okay, that is your intake. Okay, just like any other saw. It works on the same principle. The only difference is these, and again, don't forget, this is just an air pump. The bottom end is either under suction or pressure. When it's under suction, it's going to push, or it's going to pull some air past the carburetor into the bottom end. Let's grab the carb so we can have a look. Okay, and here's our carburetor. This is just a regular Walbro carb with this plate bolted to the front. Okay, as you throttle the carburetor, do it here. Okay, look, as you throttle the carburetor, maybe it'll be better if I do it this way. There we go. There. Okay, there we go. See? As you throttle the carburetor, it lets air in. Okay, more throttle, more air. Now, this is auto-tune, M-Tronic, so this is reading to make sure the saw doesn't go lean. But what happens is, as this thing's spinning around, okay, when the bottom end comes under pressure, or suction rather, it pulls fresh air into this bottom end, okay, into the bottom end, and then when the piston's down and it's under pressure, it lets a little bit of air at the bottom of the stroke come in, okay, at the bottom of the stroke. I'll grab the blown up piston so you guys can see. Okay, now this is upside down. But just picture it. When the piston is running down, transfer's open. Okay. Transfer's open. And then this little air injection doohickey opens. Okay. And lets some air in. That leans out. That leans out the bottom end charge. And again, the piston does not go all the way to the bottom and open this transfer. As far as I know, friends, it does it through these bypasses. I'll show you right here. Okay, friends, I can't even show you, but the long and the short of it is it's a controlled air leak, okay? It lets air through this bottom orifice into the bottom end and makes it lean at the right time, okay? This is just a regular carburetor. If you unbolt this, it's just a regular Walbro carburetor. Okay, so that's how they get around it. It lets air in and leans out the mixture at the right point, not enough to burn the saw down, but enough that the exhaust coming out is leaner and not as full of fuel, oil, and burnt gas and exhaust. Okay, that's how these work. And that's how they got around it. Pretty smart if you ask me, but that's the long and the short of it. Let's put a timing wheel on this thing. So we know our squish is 22.5. Wow, that's awesome. I think I'm going to build her just like that. Let's put a timing wheel on this thing, and I'll call out where it times, and then we'll put our heads together and see what we're going to do with this thing. Okay, timing stop. Got the wheel put on here. I'll lower you guys so we can zero it together. Okay, I got you guys lined up here so you're seeing what I'm seeing. 51. Now we go the other way, and it should stop at 51 in the other direction. 62. So 62 minus 51 is 11. So we are 5.5 degrees out. So all I'm going to do, I'm going to turn it 5.5 degrees to 57. Okay, right there. We'll go 57. Are we 57 in this direction? Now, friends, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to move this closer. Okay, I'm seeing 56. You guys are getting a lot of parallax right now. 56 is what I'm seeing. Okay, so now I'm just going to bend it over till it stops at 57. 55, 56, 57. Now I'm going to go the other way. 57. Now let's go this way. There. You're getting a little bit of parallax, friends, but I'm just going to move this over just a hair. Okay. There you go. Let's go the other way. $57. 57. It's stopping in the same place, friends. That's all that matters. It's kind of stopping in between 56 and 57. Now, take the timing stop out. We know it's zero, right? If it stops in the same place in both directions, you know it's zero. That is the number one thing. People email me, and if your intake numbers are like 5 degrees off from each other, or 6 or 8 degrees, I usually know you're not zeroed. Same thing. Your exhaust should open and close at the same point, pretty much. Your intake should open and close at the same point, pretty much. If they don't, you're not zeroed. That's how you know if you're zeroed or not. Okay, I'm going to zoom you guys back in. I've never timed one of these, so I'm kind of excited. Oh, I bumped you guys there. Let's see. I'm seeing 117. What are you guys seeing? There you go. Okay. I want you guys to see. I can always redo this after. Okay, I'm going to spin this around. Bottom dead center. Top dead center. All I'm doing right now, I'm going to turn one light off so that it's dark in here. And turn 2 lights off. I got about 6 lights over us, friends. If you're going to film YouTube, that's the key. Okay, and it opens right about there. I'm seeing 101 after top dead center. I'm going to grab a pen and write this all down. Give me a second. Okay, I'm going to spin it around again. Again, I'm just watching first ray of light through the exhaust port. Okay, bottom dead center on the way up. I time it going up or down. It doesn't matter. Right about there. I'm seeing 100 to 101. I think it's 101. We're going to call it 101. That's a good number. 101 after top dead center. Now, I'm going to peek through the exhaust port. Well, again, I'll show you guys right now. Okay. Sorry, friends, my light's dying. Right? about, see that? First ray of light's right there, and then you look at the exhaust or your timing wheel, and it's at 101, okay? Okay, now I'm going to look through that same exhaust port. I'm going to look into the cylinder and see if I can see where the transfers open. And indeed I can, and they open right about there. 126 after top dead center is what I'm seeing. 25 degrees of blowdown, pretty good. Now you might say, well, I've noticed most new saws have short blowdown, and I'll show you guys why. I'll compare this cylinder to another cylinder that you might see more commonly. These ones are a little bit different. Okay, intake. Again, I'm looking at the intake side right about, it opens right about there. 75, 6, 7, 77 is what I'm seeing. Right about there. $77, and it closes at right about there. Right about there. It closes at 77. So I'll call that 77 degrees or 150. Let's see, 75 and 75 is 150. 152. Well, friends, this thing has the timing numbers that I would give it generally. Good timing numbers. Now, let's ask ourselves, why is it timed like that? Okay, let's compare this to a 50 millimeter 372. 50 millimeter 372 has a way bigger intake. Okay, 372, 441. Now think about that. So, because this intake is so small, and it looks like you can't widen it because of where the locator pins are for the ring, because this is so small, they gave it more intake, because you want to keep your intake smaller, in my opinion. Either make them wider but not lower, or lower but not wider. As your intake gets bigger, you lose velocity and you end up not flowing as well. Look at the size of this intake, okay? It's massive. These usually time around 146, I think, because again, it's a bigger intake. Okay? If you overtime these, they don't idle, they don't start as well. But you see the difference, okay? So let's talk about transfer timing, and then we'll leave this one for the day, I think. Okay, before I let you guys go, again, look at this cylinder. You have very small port area, okay? Transfers are small, okay? Very small port area. Very tight transfers, but they are straight, okay? They go straight in and turn. That's good. That's really good for airflow. Let's compare this to a Husqvarna 550. Okay. Again, I want you to look at, let's see if we can get you in here. Okay. Notice how low these are compared to the roof of the exhaust. That's blowdown. Okay. In this case, we have 25 degrees. Let's look at this one. This is an absolutely mangled cylinder. Tried to remove transfer with acid, and look what it did. That's why I don't use acid. Okay. This, you're probably not going to be able to see. Let's see if we can get a light in there. No, you're not going to be able to see, friends. But if you look, down inside here. Okay, these transfers are almost the same height as the roof of the exhaust. See how close it is here to here? Very short blowdown. Now you got to ask yourself why. Well, here's why. These transfers turn 90 and then 90 again. Not only are they longer for the size of saw, okay, but they also change directions twice. Okay, so you come out of here, into here, turn 90. Sorry, friends, they turn 90 3 times. Okay, look, in here, here's where they feed. That's nice. Feed here, 90. Okay, so we have 190, 2 90s, 3 90s to get it into the cylinder. Which means the velocity of these transfers will always be less than the velocity of these transfers if all things are equal. So the way to get around that in modern saws that they have transfers like this is they have short blowdown. They don't have short blowdown to make power. They have short blowdown because this air is moving so slowly by the time it changes corners is they have to, or by the time it turns corners is they have to open them sooner to get as much of that fuel and air into the top of the cylinder before the next compression stroke. Okay, whereas this one's straight away. So my question is, friends, what should I do with this? I want to keep this build as simple as possible. Don't really want to do any machine work yet. I want to see what we can do with this. So the question is, what should I do with this? Should I slap her together and run it the way it is and see how it runs? Should I raise the exhaust roof to 98 maybe? 99? Could do that. I could also lower the intake to like 156, 158. We could do that. We can't widen it at all, friends, because this is just barely wider than this intake. Okay, we're very limited on these saws. There's not much you can do to these things. You don't get the gains out of the new saws that you do out of the old saws because the new saws are pretty angry out of the box. Okay, I could raise the exhaust to 98. I could lower the intake to say 78, 79. And also, friends, I'm wondering, and I don't know, is this a move? Does anybody know? Because I have no idea. Could I cut these out here like you would on a 372? Cut those out. Cut those out and then grind in there to help feed these a little bit better. Because really, friends, I can't make these much bigger than they are. I mean, I might be able to somewhat, but we're very limited to what we can do here. Which is good sometimes. Sometimes less is more. But again, friends, if you're looking at this gasket, there's not much room in there. And this gasket fits pretty nice. It's really not covering them. It's right to the edge of both of them. Okay, so we're kind of limited to what we can do here. Part of me wants to grind them out here, but I don't know. Yeah, that might work. Maybe we need a boost port right here. I don't know, friends. Let me know. What do you guys think? I hope you guys learned something here, and I'm learning. Friends, I'm not an expert on these. If I misspoke when I was explaining how they work, it is what it is. Anyhow, thanks for watching. Take her easy, and let me know what you guys think. What should we do with this thing? Should we just slap her together? Should we try porting it? I mean, I want to port it while I'm in here, but what I'm going to do to it, I have no idea. Let me know in the comments. Later.